This is today's live on Equa Television International. My name is Joyce Jakada and we are live on Facebook and YouTube at Equa Television International. Let's talk about life. Have you experienced suffering? Did you bring that upon yourself or is just a result of the fallen world you found yourself in? I'm not doing this alone. I have engineer Tony Gina Kali. Good morning.
You must always start with me. This is so very good.
I like to do it that way.
Okay.
And when I'm sitting there, I start this way.
Okay.
And when I'm there, I'll start.
On Christ solid rock.
Every other ground is sinking sand. Prudence Brugger, looking elegant and beautiful. Good morning.
Thank you. Good
As
morning.
always, you forgot to add that.
As sometimes. Good to have you.
It's lovely being here.
Yeah.
And I miss those smiles, you know. I like that. Samu Solomon, good
I'm here.
morning. You're well represented, Abby.
I'm here.
Always by my side.
Yes.
But I hope you'll not leave me.
No.
Let's talk about suffering. A lot of times you hear people say, why me? Sometimes we hear people say, oh, I'm really disappointed. How can this person say this about me? How can this person criticize me? Why would this person bring untold pain upon me? And sometimes you just ask God a lot of questions. Where are you, God? Why do we have to go through all of these? And sometimes when you look at the situations critically, at some point it's like people bring some of these pain to themselves. For example, somebody just comes to you and say, if you give me 20,000 naira in 24 hours, I'll give you 100,000 naira, and that's just your only saving that you have saved 500 naira for 1 year, and you got that, and you just decide, and then the person is nowhere to be found, and you start crying, going through pain and all of that. Your house.
But he has 100 million to give.
And then I saw some situation, maybe a loss of a loved one, and person could be breadwinner, somebody that is sponsoring you and all of that, and then the person just there's no more. And each time you're seated, you remember, you start crying. The pain, the stress, physically, mentally, is something that you can't fathom. Let's talk about suffering.
Well, suffering is good because it's part of life.
Let's talk about suffering. And the place was just quiet. Well, suffering is part of life. Go
so
ahead.
It looked like everybody was trying to reminisce on his own experience.
I think
Yeah.
that's what happened.
Yes. When you said suffering, you know, I just reflect and I rewind my life, and I begin to see, like some kind of experience that I had, some that I would say is intentional, or I brought upon myself, some by nature, and you know, I just found myself, you know, in such situation. You talk about losing someone, you know. I lost my dad, age 11, thereabout, you know. So, and that time, things were not really like settled like that. And then my mom didn't go to conventional school like that. And then for her, then it was shock to make out things and then to figure out what exactly she wants to do. And then she's surrounded by some people that are just like looking for opportunity. And before she knows, like, we are back in the village, square one. You know, like you growing up, somebody you see looking up to, like grooming you, and then you know that when you talk about your village, it's somebody that is pushing people to go to school, that he has to strategize when going home. You know, this siding, you know, the olden days that used to come with key. So he will go with it. People that perform, he will give them the siding with the key. People that are lagging behind, he will give them the key, promising that next time he should come in, he will bring. So I'm just trying to paint a story. Then just of a sudden, you know, and then we are back in the village, not plan that, you know, you have to go house to house to beg because we didn't farm. There's no farm. So, you know, you are living by and there's no house that you say you enter. Sometimes you stay and then you look at the roof. This didn't shower. You know, it's leaking when it's raining.
That's true.
I was wondering.
I know that the interpretation will come. You know,
Somebody is watching
Yes.
in Ghana like, what is this?
you know, it's leaking, and then you're living to a point that, you know, your mom had to go and beg, like the normal conventional begging, to have transport to get ourselves back, because she said no, she can't watch this. So, and then that's just the background, and you start wondering, there's this pain, you start asking questions, you know, there's no food to eat, you know, and so on and so forth. But after that, you can't say you brought that to yourself, you know, because nature happened to it. But when growing up, there are certain decisions that on my own I'm supposed to take and stand by it and push myself to a certain level. But, you know, not taking those decisions, you know, affected me, you know, in several ways. That today, when I think about them and I begin to say, I did this or that, maybe things would have been better or different, you know. You talk about issue of school and the rest. Sometimes it's just because you just narrow your mind, and then you are just thinking and you are lamenting, which you are not supposed to, you know. See it as is an act of God. See the opportunities surrounding the whole situation. Pick it up, build yourself, do things that, you know, will just take you out of that situation, that pain, you know, instead of lamenting. But not until later, you know, meeting people, you begin to understand, you know, the entire concept of life, you know, by adding knowledge to yourself. You know, there are certain things you don't need to settle, because the more you settle, the pain that's still there, you keep lamenting psychologically and physically. You are even tormenting yourself by not doing certain things. So that just a story of my own. I just want to paint a situation that people will know that, yes, some people are going through certain things, but some things, some pains, we normally invite them by ourselves. It's either consciously or unconsciously. Unconsciously, maybe out of ignorance. You don't know. You don't have that capacity, that knowledge. You know, you didn't surround yourself with people that will help you, will push you, will tell you, yes, you may be thinking this way, but this is how life is. You have to see life this way. Because if you think this way, you will remain this way, and then you will stay in pain, and then probably, maybe, that's the way you will just end. And that's why you see most people will hear you saying, how going to do is the situation. So look at my life. You know, you keep lamenting. But I think life is beyond that. If you look at it positively, and we surround ourselves with positive people that see life like beyond, and you see suffering, you know, that comes naturally as another avenue to open up your mind, you know, and your senses to see opportunities surrounding that particular situation. Because everything that happens in someone's life, there's a purpose for it. You know, if you are a believer, God allows it, because he wants to bring something out of it. And then I see suffering as a refining process. As a refining process. It depends on how you see it. If you see it as a refined process, that means you are going through something. God is teaching you certain things. And you have to open up your mind to see beyond the present and what is happening. And then pick it up from there. And then it can just be, you know, a death sentence, that you just see something and then you just start lamenting, why me, and you remain there. And then that's how it's going to be the end of that's how I see suffering. But I know, you know, there's more to it. There's more to it positively.
Even if you don't say anything else on this show, at least you have made your point. And I've learned a lot from what you just said. But I want us to look at suffering. Is suffering a setback or a set on? If suffering is setback, why? Life is not created to hand good to you. Life is not created for you to like just have everything. They say platter of gold, right? No. That's not how life is created. Life, you make life. Life doesn't make you. It's not predicated upon who you know, what you know, but I think largely what you believe. Because people know stuff, but they hate to believe certain things. And you see, people who don't believe, people hate to believe what they don't know. That I don't know this means I should not believe it. And you hear people who suffer, they keep staying true to that wrong ideology of life. Go and check most people who suffer. You see a beggar on the street, he doesn't have plans of leaving that street. No. He tells you, I can't see, I can't walk, I'm being helped. Nothing. I was traveling recently and I saw one guy. You know this thing, this truck they push that carries things. I was traveling along a village. It was a market day. This guy had one of his whole arm withered, but he was pushing that truck. The market was jam-packed. I wanted to stop and share what I had with this guy, but there was no space to park. You just had to keep driving, and the guy was really moving. I'd rather help that guy than help a beggar. That's me. If you think it's wickedness, then it's fine. But these are guys that if you give them something, they will multiply it in measures you cannot fathom. You can't. Some people see setback. Some people see suffering as a setback. There was one time that ECWA theme of the year was joy in suffering. I think that was the most criticized theme ever. How can you say that? Some churches even make jest of us. They are like, how can a denomination we respect like that imbibe suffering and all of that? But you see, I have good news for you. Even God, there are certain things you can never know about God except through suffering. Clear example, Job. Except through suffering. Ask Jesus what he went through on the cross if he didn't know his father more. Because the question he asked, Kai, I didn't think this thing was this way. Oh, is there a way we can stop it here? But he knew his father more after he said, anyway, not my will, but yours be done. And when the father did his own will against the will of his son, I am sure at that point the son got a different idea of who his father is. There are certain things about God you can only know through suffering. If you have not suffered. Have you seen someone in dire need of health? Like he's going through, like he's about to die, and he called upon God and God helped him. He has known God in a different light. The people who suffer, Joyce, I'll be very sincere with you. And the people that are watching should hear this and learn. The people who suffer the most in life, you are not suffering from the situation that you think is making you suffer. You are suffering from lack of information on how to deal with that situation. That's why you are suffering. It's not the father that you lost that is making you suffer. It's not the money that you lost that is making you suffer. It's not the car that was stolen that is making you suffer. It's the information that you do not have about the things gone, about the things that will go, that is making you suffer. Should you have that information, you would not suffer. You might just be pained. And I want us to distinguish between going through something that is negative and suffering. You can have headache. It's painful. But you're not suffering. You can't say I'm suffering. Just because you have a slight headache or something. You can't hit your leg and it's swollen and you say I'm suffering. Meanwhile, you can still drive and come to work. At least you are not, but you are making things, you are narrowing down strong points on this show. Why are you laughing now? You see, so honestly, haven't you met people who tell you, no, this is what I believe. All these things that they are saying, I will never believe it. But they are suffering. But you keep saying, how can I be saving 2,000 every month? I will never do that. The person that is saving it, one day, the person will retire or resign or do this, and then they will tell you, you have saved 2 million. Wow. They tell you that this thing, you can't get it this way. You are like, no, other people got it this way. I'll get it this way. You don't know if that is the way they got it. Because what you are told is what you are aware of. What you're told is what you believe. Someone stole and told you, man, I invested in crypto. That thing has money. Then you start looking for money to invest in crypto. But you see, you suffer not because of what you are going through. You suffer because you lack information about what you are going through. Sir, if you can treat yourself, do you need a doctor? No. That means you are suffering because you have not met a doctor. If you have the information on how to treat yourself, you won't suffer. You won't need a doctor. You won't be in the condition that you are. So if we're talking about suffering, there is a suffering that you brought upon yourself. They warned you about the guy, you refused. You are not only heartbroken, your brain shattered. Because you won't think right. They warned you about that kind of car. No, at this level, you don't need it. But you said no. So you are using 2 months' salary to service a car in 1 month. What sense does it make? They warned you about living in that kind of environment. You said, no, I'm with the Lord by my side. See, having the Lord by your side does not mean foolishness. It means you should have more wisdom when you have the Lord on your side. People say, me, I no go suffer, I no go beg for bread. God of miracle. So if you don't walk and you sing that song, suffering is your portion in the name of Jesus. Because true, you cannot sit at home and be singing and say, manna from above. No, no. What situation are you in that manna will fall from above? See, so suffering is, some people have imbibed suffering as a culture. They like it when they don't suffer. In fact, there is a greeting that I find very difficult to answer. You're a farmer. People ask a lot, you're a farmer. What am I farmering? Do you understand? People ask that like how are the struggles? I'm not struggling. See, that is why you should distinguish between suffering, struggling, and life. Because in this life, some people are living, some people are existing. So what are you doing? If you are existing, you are the one that is suffering. But if you are living, so you know the principles, you are applying them, and they are working for you. The people that live, that's how they are. They live based on principles of life. People that exist, salary come. In fact, some people, before the salary is there, as they are collecting it, they are paying debts. There are people that are owing their 2 months salary already from what they have borrowed. When it comes, the full package will not even meet the debts. It will not service the debts they are living in already. And they are suffering. So when the month is coming to an end, while others are happy that they are collecting salary, some are like, you people are happy, oh. Us. Do you understand? How can you work 30 days for someone? See, this decision that I just explained earlier is what makes you suffer, because you are not informed. How can your salary be 50,000 and you go and be living in a house of 200,000 a year? So there is no sense in that. And you have kids, you have wife, you have kids with needs of kids. What are the needs of kids? they can call you and say, buy chocolate. If you don't come with it, I hate my children seeing me disabled. What I mean is not like I'm, no, but disability, like you are not able to buy chocolate on your way home when they ask for it. See, they know when you are busy and you didn't have time to buy, they know. When you don't have money, they know. They are your children. They live with you every day. They hear what you tell your wife, than what you tell their mother. Some people collect money, but it's gone. It's like a curse. It's gone. You don't see anything. If you start living within your means, I think we talked about that last week on the show or 2 weeks ago. You start living within your means. How much am I earning? Am I earning 40,000 in a whole year? How much would I make? That's 480,000. So, excuse me, if I pay 200,000 out of 480,000, what is left? It's 280,000. I'm not single. I have wife. I have children. How do I pay fees? How do I take medical bills? How do we eat? How do we do this? Can 280,000 feed a family of 3 or 4 in Nigeria comfortably a whole year? So why live in that kind of house? You don't want people to laugh at you. Either ways, they will laugh at you because when they look at your children, they see how they live. They are not well clothed. They don't look nourished. People will laugh at you. They'll say, meanwhile, he's working. They don't care how much you earn. They'll just say, meanwhile, he's working. Meanwhile, she is working. I think people should start, we should start having the sense that living within our means is not poverty, it's wisdom. Living within your means is not poverty, it's wisdom, sir. If 20,000 is what you earn, where do I go and look for a house that I can pay this amount? And plan your life. Plan your life. You have these savings. Banks have these savings that if you start putting money till the year is over, you cannot withdraw. Go and put money there so that you don't struggle with rent issues.
Well, like we said earlier on, a lot of people bring untold hardship on themselves, like suffering, intense pain. Like you just rightly said. I've seen people that due to unnecessary competition, they are suffering. Like the example, living in a house you cannot afford. But because you want to compete with another person, take your child to a school you cannot afford as well. At the end of the day, it's either you're living in debt or you're going from one person to the other to seek for help. But I think what is more important, if people get to that point of realizing that this journey is yours. You have your part. You are not competing with another person. Your journey, you're on your own, and you're going to answer the long run. Nobody will speak on your behalf. When you realize that you live within your means, healthy spending habit is very key. But I see a lot of people live far above their means. And that is why at the end of the day, you see yourself suffering. You're thinking. You are just confused. And yeah, some people say, oh, I have faith. And God will do it. God will do it.
It's not faith.
God is a miracle working God.
Well, there are times that faith works. There are times like that. But it's not always that you depend on.
Why
you
would
say
you
that
have
it's faith, though.
For God to increase your revenue rather than spending from your revenue that you don't have, the revenue that you never had, the revenue you will never have. People are paid by their capacity, not by your standard of living. No, nobody pays you by your standard of living. Today I can't just say, oh, Joyce, you are home with your parents, I should slash your salary. Prudence, you are living alone in Rayfield, oh, I should up your salary to 200. She is in this other area, okay, 150. No, nobody lives by that. You live by your capacity. You earn by your capacity. Everybody earns by his capacity. Look at the woman on the street selling stuff. She will earn based on her capacity because her capacity told her that is the level of her business. Her being there is quite different from Dangote, who is opening a refinery. It is capacity and the people involved in his business. A business cannot just on its own grow without everybody thinking the same way in the company, in the organization. And that is why at work, some people are appreciated more than the others. Sometimes appreciation is more than money. It propels you to want to do more. So you see, some people, you can't live. You are not paid based on your means, your like your needs. Nobody pays you based on that. But you can decide that I want to start getting money in accordance to my need, or times 5 of my need. Then you put your capacity on the scale of increment. Then as it increases, you find out that money is coming in more.
See, when I said that sometimes faith works, is that when you have faith in something, you put your efforts towards it, you're working towards it already. You're not just sitting down and folding your hands and then expecting that, oh, some miracle is gonna happen because you have faith. Excuse me, you're deluding yourself. That's delusional. That's a very delusional way of thinking, and I would not advise you to do that. That's, in fact, I'll call it stupid. You have to put your hands to work, because if you're not putting your hands to work towards what you say you profess you have faith in, then there's nothing. In fact, even our faith as Christians, we work toward, sometimes we have to work towards exhibiting that this is the faith that I'm professing. People have to see that this is the faith that I'm professing. So you're working regardless. So you're working towards whatever you get. If you sit down and you fold your hands, then you're bringing in suffering for yourself. We're talking about suffering. A lot of things will lead you to suffering, but the major one is laziness and idleness. You're lazy and idle, you won't get nowhere. And suffering will descend on you. When they say poverty will descend on you, that's not, this one is suffering I'm talking about, to descend on you. You will just find yourself suffering at every you would find yourself suffering at where? Every point. Gombe.
Continue.
The blessed place. Anyways. That was by the way.
Joyce, they used to beat you when you were small, man, because you look like someone that was always looking. You come back without one shoe. They have collected it. You come back and they will go and collect it for you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, you're a fighter.
No, I'll be asked to go and get it.
Oh, I love your kind of parents.
Oh, well, so most importantly, you have to get your hands to work. If not, you would make yourself suffer by your own hands. And earlier on, we were talking about how some people are already living in debt. There are situations that you take debt because there was no other way out except to ask for help from someone. There are situations that when you take debt, it is uncalled for. For instance, my mom always gives me an illustration of how she, when she was still working with the government before she retired, she had this group of colleagues, and you find that some of them had already bought materials that are, if you sum it up, it's their whole salary. So basically at home, they're depending on their husbands to bring in money, when their own salary should have been something that would block some aid some things at home. And tomorrow, if the husband isn't able to meet those needs because his own capacity has come to its own limit, they begin to blame him, while they didn't do it in the first place. If they had that in stock and not prioritize wrappers over family, then things would have worked out a different way. So at that point, the suffering that they are facing is called on by themselves. Because the truth of the matter is that if you're working towards something that you prioritize, it is easy for you to find it. But if you are working against what you should be prioritized, then you would suffer. So a lot of times when people say we are suffering, if you check it, we're suffering for all the wrong reasons. And that was why Paul kept on emphasizing that when you suffer, you have to suffer for the right reason and not for the wrong reasons. It is when you suffer for the right reasons that you would find joy at the end of the day. And that's the beauty of life. If you're suffering for the right reasons, for instance, you for some parents that keep themselves from certain things that they enjoy just to invest in their children. At the end of the day, when this child is doing good and is doing great, you're just, oh, I'm proud of this child. You have a certain form of joy. Or a mother suffering the pain of childbirth, at the end of the day, she has a certain form of joy because her child is now here and alive and thriving. So that's how life is. When you suffer for all the right reasons, there's joy at the end of the tunnel. But if you're suffering for all the wrong reasons, there's no joy to look forward to. Don't look forward to.
And you see,
there are actually different forms of suffering, so that you
will always fight.
We said to there are different forms of suffering.
Yeah.
You know, there are suffering. We would not fight. There are some suffering that are just consequences of our sin.
Yes.
And that's why you see some people today are in the prison. Why? Because they went to steal, they were arrested, further sentenced to maybe life imprisonment. That's because of the sin they committed. There are some that maybe committed murder and all of that. Some pain, some suffering, severe pain, you go through is because of the sin that you committed. When you go back to the Bible, the story of Adam and Eve in the garden, when God told them not to eat they can eat from every fruit, but not this particular fruit, and when the devil came and deceived them into eating it, at the end of the day, the pronouncement was that the woman was going to go through pain giving birth, the man have to toil, and these are consequences of sin, disobedience. So there are pain that it is because of your sin, your disobedience, that you have to face it. Imagine a student in the university not reading, and you're there following bad friends, bad gangs, and at the end of the day, it's time for graduation. Your name is not among the graduates. You have a spillover. You go through that pain, that suffering because of the extra year, because of what you did, your disobedience. And then there are some suffering that is a test of our faith, like the story of Job that we spoke about earlier on. Sometimes it's to test our faith. Sometimes when you go through suffering, you hold on to what you believe. It's at that time that you want to go back to, what do I believe? And it's a test of faith. But you have to differentiate it, because today you see people going through pain because of what they actually brought upon themselves. But they are saying, oh, it's because I'm a child of God, that's why I'm going through this. This is something you brought upon yourself, like living above your means. It's suffering that you brought upon yourself. And then there are some people that it's because of their belief in God that they are suffering. You work in an organization where, because you are faithful to your job, you are faithful like in living in obedience, and then every other person is fighting you. Whatever, when it comes to promotion, your file is being hidden, because they will say, no, this person is a threat to us. If they want all of you to come together and steal, and you say no to that because it is against your belief, everybody in that place begins to fight you. You work in an account session that they expect you should always aid them to steal, and you are saying no. Before you know, you are transferred to a place that even amongst ministers, there are some that you see, they will say, oh, it's punishment. They will take you to a place that you get. So there are some punishment, there are some suffering you go through because of your belief. More like it's a test of your faith. In that instance, you remember that Christ told us that because we believe in him, we are going to be persecuted. And because of your knowledge now, the information that you have, even when you are faced with such situation, you know that Christ is there with you. Like he said, I will never leave you, I will never forsake you. So we must learn to differentiate the suffering I'm going through. Did I bring it upon myself? I've always said it in this on this platform. I've had bad breaks, and when I look back, I remember that I had a relationship that I had to end. It was so painful that when I remember, then like I would just start crying. And the pain that I was going through was because I was just wondering, how was I not aware that, it was just, I was living in deceit and all of that.
Heads over heels.
So when you live
love shake ya. I love.
Love is blind. So at a point of making a very critical decision, I kept praying and saying, like, God, is this what you want me to do? Like, and then I was strongly convinced that no, that's not the path to tour. And when I started praying, I started seeing a lot of things that were not it, and I had to just end it. But when I ended it, I sometimes like imagine, so after these years, this person has been lying, deceiving, and all of that. So there are pains that we bring upon ourselves. Why go into relationship with somebody that does not share the same belief as you are in the first place? You get, so you see all of those signs and you ignore it because you are feeling, oh, this person will change. Like you hear some ladies will tell you, oh, he will change eventually. So if I leave him, how will I start again? I've had a lady said that how old am I? I'm 35, and then if I'm to start all over, where will I get? So you decide to go.
Do you know that foolishness about ladies that I don't like? How can you base something that makes you uncomfortable on age? How can? Is there an age that when you get to, you are not married, they take you to jail? There's none. There's none. In fact, for some of them, even though the Bible says none shall lack her mate, but for some of you, it's freedom. If you are watching, if he does not come, it's freedom. Sometimes when you hear what people go through in relationship, you rather be single, sir. You rather be single. Look at what Joyce said. Let's just assume, of course, Joyce is a very pretty young lady who is having a life filled with thoughts like, I should be married by so-so, I should have kids by so-so, I should leave it by so-so. It's every lady's dream. But let's think about it that with all this dream that she had, she did not make that decision to leave Stephanus. What was his name again? Just imagine that she stayed in that relationship hoping, I have faith, I will work on this guy. This is my destiny. And he killed her, let's say. He might not use a gun, he might not stab her, but he might drain her emotionally that she dries up and die. Where will the dream of, I want to marry a man, I want to have kids, where will the dream? It will follow you to your grave. It's ended. At 50, you can get married. At 60, I've been to a wedding of 65 and 30. The woman was 65. She retired. I think 2 weeks later, she got married to the guy at 30. I was at the wedding. In fact, I followed the pastor who joined them to let you know I was really at the wedding. I was there at the wedding. I think this is about 12 or 13 years now. They are still together. They are happy, sir. He was 30, 35. No, he was not. He was 30, I think. She was 65, 35 years older. Sir, you can't see them and say, what's that his name again? You can't see them and say he's not happy being in that. Let me tell you something. She didn't look for him because they asked them how they met. He looked for her, he chased her. He didn't even know she had this, she had that. He chased her, he said that's what he wanted. Guess what she didn't marry? She said men are deceitful. So I was tempted to ask several questions, but I didn't have the opportunity. But they are together. They're in Abuja till tomorrow. You see, sir, let's be honest. If you are a lady out there watching, you just let God to take care of everything. Don't step into situations that man is not meant to deal with, but God. Don't enter it. Don't. Because if you want to deal with it, you will get what is befitting for you, not what God has planned for you. And what is beauty? The Bible says beauty is deceitful. But the woman that fears the Lord should be praised. Have you read that scripture? You've read that scripture, Proverbs. It said, beauty is deceitful, but a woman. So, sir, if God gives you a wife, you'll be happy. That somebody was asked to, I have two things that I will say that are funny. You should start laughing now so that I will be encouraged. Somebody was asked to define the difference between finish and complete. Okay, you know it. You know the story. You don't know the story. That if you marry a good wife, wow, you are complete. If you marry a terrible wife, you are finished. So you see, it's a very funny definition, but linking it to being together as man and wife, I think it makes a whole lot of sense. Joyce, you brought something that pricked me up to think of this point I'm about to make. You say that there is a suffering that is inevitable, and all of us go through it with joy as Christians. If you're persecuted as a Christian, there's joy in it. Just for believing in God, there's joy in it. We have seen politicians who are willing to die for their masters. Everybody in a country, I didn't say in our country, in a country is saying that this is not a good candidate to lead us. But there are people that will pay money, put adverts, do bills, paste them, do all these things just to see that this. So you will always have people who don't agree with things that you do. You'll be persecuted as a Christian. But there's joy in serving your master. We all know, these politicians know that they themselves, they are not doing the right thing. But they have people that will present them perfect before people. And these people are happy doing it. No matter how you criticize them. They say, these are the people following Honorable Solomon Sambo Sabe. Yes, proudly, you can't do anything to us. They are suffering because of his name. That's how we are suffering. It's not like they like what they go through, but they do it with joy because it's their source of income, source of wealth, and everything, livelihood. There are people that work in Equa Television. If you dare talk against Equa Television outside, they will pull shirt and defend it. There are people that will join the people saying nonsense about Equa Television, yet they work here. Everybody has what he derives joy in doing. Everybody. If the Bible says it's God that is going to judge, it's fine. We'll wait to see what you say about that the last day. But I have a point I'm going to make. When you suffer for the wrong things, how do you feel remaining in that suffering? You already know that this lady is torturing you in the relationship. But you're like, well, maybe 2-3 more months. Let me try this other thing. Before you know, 2-3 more months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and you are forced to be married. Age is not on my side. Of course, everything has to do with calculation. I would rather have children at a very late stage and be happy than to have them early and be suffering. The decisions we make, they determine the end result, which could be suffering or joy or happiness, because joy and happiness are different things. Joy comes, but happiness is you that creates happiness. Joy comes, like we know that joy is from the Lord, but happiness, you are going to create the happiness that you. So if you live in something that makes you suffer, already your happiness is taken. You only have the joy of the Lord, which is your strength. The strength to receive beating and endure it. The strength because you can't leave. They say if you have agreed, you have to stay.
For life.
I'm telling you. So why do people suffer? Decisions that they make. Decisions that they make. Somebody gave a testimony that he went to the park and he said, is this front seat he wants? They said, no, somebody paid for it. The person was not there. They dragged and dragged and dragged. And he said he's not traveling. And that car had an accident. That the person, like it was like they should bury the car with that front seat part. See, he didn't join. He made a decision. He wouldn't have suffered because dead people don't suffer. You understand what I'm saying? Hey, if he had that accident and that mince meat of him was made, he wouldn't suffer. Because if they chop you into tiny pieces, you wouldn't even know. His story would have just been forgotten. But then his wife, his children, and everybody that was depending on him would have suffered. So some decisions you make, they will not just affect you as a person. They affect your wife, they affect your children, they affect your friends, they affect everybody around you. So we have to be wise the decisions we make.
And you see, that start, at the Garden of Eden, when man fall, and then God gave that instruction. He said, because he disobeyed, for the woman, this is how you go through it, to give birth. And then, and women love children. If you hear a young lady talking, no, I just want to graduate and then marry and born. You understand? But that process, you understand? So already is in us. And man, you'll be thinking, okay, well, I want to get some small income, marry, have a family, settle, and make them enjoy. How? The Bible says you have to till the ground. So where is your faith when there is no action? Because Bible say, yes, you have to work. Because from the beginning, ideally, God will just say, okay. He will not mention you tilting the ground. Yes, that's work. He said you have to. So from there, you will know that this situation is being settled. If you are not working, you are not doing anything, and you are suffering, you brought it upon yourself. But the general suffering that will say, yes, is because of the fall of man, because of disobedience, because the plan of God initially, that's not what we are seeing. You're supposed to cruise, enjoy anything you want, just think of it, just they cruise, they go, they flex. Sorry, but there's
2 words.
I think I should give my energy to this.
Because there's a look where your erroneous
please don't know.
will be favored.
See, but honestly, there are some sufferings that are unavoidable. Okay, some sufferings are
Please be speaking
unavoidable.
English on this show.
Some sufferings are unavoidable. You see, the moment you declare that you are a Christian, you are a child of God, you are in a war, in a battlefield, because you don't expect the world to shake hands with you and say, oh, I'm happy that you're now a child of God. The Bible says the devil rules like a lion looking for who to devour. So it means you have declared war between yourself and those principalities and power. But the good news is that Christ is with us. And that is why we sing the song that on the last day, we're going to be in heaven where there's no suffering. There's no all those troubles that you're faced with. So that's the good thing about life, that even as a child of God, when you face all those unavoidable sufferings, persecution, criticism, when you're trying to do your best and people are hating on you, people are criticizing you, people talk bad about you, but you're standing, you're standing on the right path. You are defending the truth. You shouldn't be scared. You shouldn't be worried. Even amidst such suffering, you should know that on the last day there's a crown of glory that awaits you. I've learned something from my mom growing up. She will always say, be contented with what you have. I think about it sometimes, that how will I work and then just when I'm getting the salary, I'm using it to pay debt. So sometimes you live within your means. That means if I cannot afford this, I shouldn't get it. When I have it, I should get it. She would tell us then that, see, you better not put your eyes on what your neighbor has. So she will always tell us that, you see how I'll just come back from work and be at home. If you like be killing cow every day in your house, I will just pound my crayfish, make my soup and eat it with all joy. And we see people living like that today. If you choose that path, you will be happy. But if you say, because you just perceive that your neighbor is frying chicken, let me go and get it. Give me now, at the end of the month, I'm going to pay. See, you will work, and at the end of the month, you see yourself. That's if you have the work, because there are people without the work, and then they are living like...
I wonder why they borrow them stuff. When you know somebody's jobless and you're borrowing the money.
Somebody is sending...
You don't even have hope that you'll be paid.
Somebody is a senator. He's a senator and he's sending his child to a school where the school fees is 400,000. And then maybe you're a civil servant in one of the public school and your salary is 20,000. You are saying, me too. The KBU does he have two head? My child too must go to that school where they pay 400,000. How do you want to do it?
Do you know the reason? I didn't get good education. Let my son get.
Mm.
That's just the reason.
For some
And
people, it's that this person could take his child to this school. I must do the same thing. And you
She's
don't
wearing
know-
that clothes.
you
I
don't
must
know
buy it.
what's-
There are times I go to the
Unhealthy
market.
competition.
And I go to the market and I want to buy something and they tell me, oh, maybe what I have is 5,000. They say it's 5,500. Oh, this is what I have. And person say, no, you can take it now. When you come next, I will like, no. Why would I go back and then start thinking? The fact that I'll be thinking that there's somebody that I'm supposed to give this is a problem for me.
Already.
Joyce, there was a time I saw a shirt on someone. So I was like, this is a good shirt. I said, yeah, he bought it XYZ boutique. So I'm not saying there is a boutique called XYZ. I went in there. I saw the shirt. My size was available. And I asked for the price. They told me. I'm so smooth to be embarrassed. So I acted as if I just came to check that one, but I came to buy something else. So I turned and I saw what my mind was telling me. It's not like I could not afford that. But my mind was saying, why would you pick one shirt at that price when you can pick 4 from these ones at that same price? And I'll wear it, nobody will know. So I started asking myself, why did I even like that shirt that I saw? Why did I like it? Why? But I ended up leaving that store with 4 shirts. 4. With the amount that I could have bought 1. So I said, in fact, I don't have the same body as that guy. I don't have so why do I think that shirt will even be? You know, we just bring upon ourselves things that are unnecessarily ours. They are not ours. You cannot, sir. You cannot. I watch a comedian. You know how they have these testers that will test the diamonds on you to know if they are real or they are fake. And they actually say, wow, very expensive. Everything on your body is so expensive. How did you come up with this? He said, wow, he just bought this. This was a birthday gift. So they said, what do you have to tell those who wear fake things? He said, there's nothing wrong with that. If that is what your money can afford, buy it. That you bought something that is fake without knowing that it was fake, that means you are cheated. But if you hear that what I'm wearing, this shoe, is 45,000, and they tell you there is our brother's mate, you know them, and then they say that one is 10K. If that is what you can afford, at least on a picture, nobody will know that, and that's where people see stuff the most. Nobody will know which one is ori, which one is fake. Nobody will know. So you see, if that is, live within your means so that you can avoid suffering. Live within your means so that you can avoid suffering. Our time is fast spent. Your final thoughts on the show?
Well, be contented with what you have. Trust God, believe in Him. If you're suffering because of your faith in Christ, on the last day, He will crown you and He will welcome you.
You know, that's how life is. Sometimes when things go to the left, you come to the right. Or sometimes you stand by that left and deal with it. She started the show, but she's not ending it. I'm making her say her last words. So say your last words.
On the show.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Let it not be last word.
Okay, I want to say this. You know,
Deep thinkers.
yeah. You know, suffering that you brought upon yourself is consequence. Yeah. And then the general suffering that comes with what you believe, maybe as a Christian, you know, it's the one that comes with joy. So even if you are to suffer, the word suffer for the right thing. Don't suffer like the thief, which he was caught and was being beaten, and he said, yes. And da mama Yesu ya ce za mu sha wahala ranar karshe. You understand? So,
meaning Jesus already said we will suffer.
yeah. Well,
Yeah, you're going to start paying for interpretation. You and Joyce that can speak outside on the show.
Oh, well, I just wanted to say, suffer
Please break
for all
it down
the
so that they will understand, right? So
Okay.
everybody that is very sharp on this set.
suffer for all the right reasons, just
Mhm.
like Mr. Sudo said. But when you're suffering, remember that that's not the end of life. It's
Mm.
just a stepping stone. Even when you're suffering for the right reasons, it's just to polish you, or maybe just to test your faith. So just know that there is hope at the end of the tunnel if you're suffering for the right reason. But if you're not, go back to the drawing board and redraw your life again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Solomon Sambo, Sabi, Prudence, Anthony Nakali. We did this show, 3 of us. I didn't forgot. People should not be learning English from me. Oh. They should not learn English from me. My Englishes are funny. They should not learn English from me. Joyce Jakada too was on set, and we looked at suffering, and you should not bring upon yourself suffering.